Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today we are putting two of the recently most sought after budget tablets in the market right now in a head-to-head battle. The all-new Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Lite versus Apple's iPad 11, also known as the A16 iPad or the 2025 iPad. Now, both of these do claim to be budget friendly, and I'm going to put that in quotation marks, right? So budget friendly, which, as I've said before, should be taken with a grain of salt or two. But the real question here remains the same. Which one of these two is going to offer you the most value for your money? Well, you may want to stick around because the winner here might actually surprise you as we break it down with a side-by-side comparison across design, display, performance, cameras, battery, software, and of course, price. Now, although I do understand that people have different needs, I still want to give you my personal take or my verdict at the end of this video. I'm going to tell you which one you should go for. Let's go ahead and jump in. All right, let's start off from the beginning. And price is where that is. So first up, the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite here will run you $350. And good news, it's going to come with an S Pen in the box, right? Included. So no hidden fees, no hidden extras that you have to pay to get that. You get the whole package without any additional or extra spend. The iPad 11 also starts at $350, but if you want to add a stylus to your experience, you'd have to pick up the new USB-C Apple Pencil separately, and that's going to run you $80, which means, of course, that realistically, the iPad setup here, including the pencil, is going to run you $430 total. Keep in mind, of course, that there are deals running on either one of these two tablets for $300, and in the case of the iPad 11, that will be just the tablet for $300. Now, I'm going to have some links, of course, in the description for you to check out the deals that are currently running on either one of these two tablets. So when it comes down to price, of course, the winner here is going to be the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite. And please do not think that this is my verdict on which one is the better buy for you, because as you know, the story here is a little bit more nuanced than the good old, okay, the cheaper one is the better one, right? So watch this video till the end. Now let's go ahead and move on to design, right? Both tablets actually feel more premium than the typical budget label would suggest. Aluminum unibodies here, flat sides, rounded corners, they look great. But here's where the differences show. The Tab S10 Lite has an expandable storage thanks to that, micro SD card slot, which you do not get on the iPad. The iPad, on the other hand, integrates a fingerprint sensor, that combos as a power button, and that is something that you don't have here. You only have a power button on the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite, but here you have a fingerprint sensor. It is extremely fast and it is also very secure. That is on the iPad 11 here. Still sticking with the design here, let's talk speakers. The iPad here looks like it has 4 speakers, but actually it has 2. The Tab S10 Lite is, let's call it more honest with its dual setup for the speakers. So you get 2 speakers on the S10 Lite as well. I found the iPad, sound to be louder than that of the Tab S10 Lite, although the S10 Lite may be a tiny bit more crisp than the iPad, but just not as full as the iPad. We also do get a USB Type-C port and pogo pins for the keyboard on both tablets. In the hands, the Tab S10 Lite is thinner, it feels denser, and it feels more compact. So for the design, I'm going to say that it's a matter of preference, right? So it's subjective, but again, I'm going to give it to the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite. Personally, I just like the look of it. It feels, like I said, denser, but if you're already familiar with iPads, you're probably going to lean towards it. So for this category here, there's no wrong or right answer. Personally, I prefer the look of the Tab S10 Lite. Let's go ahead and move on to performance now. And here, of course, there is no surprise. The iPad just runs circles around the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite. The iPad 11 is powered by Apple's A16 Bionic chip. That's the same one that you find on the iPhone 15 series. The Tab S10 Lite runs on Samsung's Exynos 1380, the same chip we found on the Galaxy Tab S9 FE. Now, in everyday use, both can handle social media, browsing, even light gaming just fine. But when it comes down to medium to heavy gaming, or even photo editing or video rendering, yeah, the iPad is just in a completely different league when it comes down to all of that good stuff, to performance in general. The S10 Lite here is nowhere near it. The iPad is faster, it holds up much better under, sustained performance without too many issues. And still sticking with performance here, we're going to talk software, right? The iPad 11 is running iPadOS 26. It was recently, offered this new update, and it's supposed to have a total of 7 years of updates guaranteed. Now with iPadOS 26, it's becoming more and more of a productivity tool, right? This is a base iPad, but now it's becoming a little machine. Multitasking is better here than before. The interface is cleaner, and of course, if you're already in the Apple ecosystem, it works seamlessly with all of the other Apple devices. Now, the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite does come with One UI based on Android 15 here, and Samsung also does promise up to 7 years of updates. The difference between a budget iPad and a budget Samsung tablet used to be flexibility, but that gap has actually shrunk, almost eliminated. Now, to Samsung's credit, flexibility and the ability to multitask and do a ton on this is still one thing that Samsung Galaxy tablets are going to flex their muscles with, right? Split screen, pop-up, and multi-windows, even Samsung DeX to run a desktop-like experience. It's still one of those things that Samsung got in the pocket. But Apple's iPadOS 26 has evolved so much, turning, as I mentioned earlier, it's turning this regular iPad into pretty much a productivity machine, especially if you live in Apple's ecosystem. Now, let me just go ahead and give my take on the specs and performance category. Of course, that's going to go to the iPad. No surprises there, right? So let's go ahead and move on to display. And this one is interesting. The iPad 11 here gives you an 11-inch Liquid Retina IPS display, that also has 60 Hz. The Tab S10 Lite is a 10.9-inch LCD with 90 Hz refresh rate and a higher peak brightness at over 600 nits compared to the iPad's 500. And by the way, you'll be able to see the difference. On paper, the Tab S10 Lite here is brighter, it's smoother, and laminated for less glare too. And in reality or in practice, scrolling, animations, and viewing angles are just better on the Tab S10 Lite here. You have smoother scrolling and better outdoor visibility. Plus, the aspect ratio is more cinematic at 16:10 compared to iPad's, 3:2. Which, might be better for reading, but it leaves you with gigantic bars at the top and at the bottom for video playback. So when you're watching movies or something like that. So for media consumption, day-to-day use, or just overall display, I'm just going to go ahead and give it to the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite here. Now let's go ahead and move on to cameras. On the back here, you've got a 12 megapixel on the iPad that can do 4K at up to 60 FPS, whereas the Tab S10 Lite is only boasting an 8 megapixel that can only do 1080p at 30 frames per second. Even on the front, the 12 megapixel on the iPad is way better than the 5 megapixel on the S10 Lite. Now, of course, in low light, neither one of these two cameras is great, but the iPad does pull ahead with more details and less noise. So for cameras, the iPad 11 here is going to win simply because it just has better cameras, takes better pictures and videos, and the specs are better. Just better than the Tab S10 Lite here. Now let's go ahead and move on to battery. Now the good news here is that either one of these two tablets will go all day. Apple promises 10 hours on the iPad 11, and in my experience, that's pretty accurate. The S10 Lite here has an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, and it also gives you around that same amount of time. So for battery, I'm just gonna say that it's a tie, right? Draw game. Anyways, with all of this said, which one should you buy? Or let me put it this way, which budget tablet is going to be the best one to offer you the most value? And I'm going to answer that this way, right? It's pretty simple, really. If you want raw power, a polished ecosystem, and something that is also future-proof in terms of power, then the iPad 11 here is the clear winner. But if you want better value for the money and an included stylus, smoother display, or expandable storage, then the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite is the better buy for you. So the winner for me is the iPad 11. And even though this is my winner, for you, it might depend on what you prioritize. And I want to hear back from you, right? Let me know in the comments section what you think of this take. Are you in the market? Maybe you just have questions you would like to figure out which one to pull the trigger on. Let me know, or let us know, I should say, all of the questions that you have about either one of these two tablets, and I'm going to do my best to answer, or the community is going to chime in like they always do, and like we love them to continue to do. Anyways, let me know what you think of this. Let me know with your questions. I'm going to catch you in the comment section like I always do. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to share it if you know anyone who would be interested. And of course, do not forget to subscribe. Do me a huge favor, hit both the subscribe button and also the like button. I'm going to catch you in the comment section like I always do. I'm certainly hoping that this was informative. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.